Welcome aboard, everybody, on a lovely Friday here, at least in the central New York area. Man Child Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital, our handle. Don't forget to like the video on the way in on YouTube, and also be a subscriber. If you're not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. I mean, it doesn't cost you a dime. It doesn't cost you a nickel. It doesn't even cost you a penny. It's absolutely free, and it helps get our videos out to more and more people. We are closing in on 1,000 subscribers. We want to get there before our 1-year anniversary. We've got another month and a half or so before we get there. So we need every one of you to trumpet us, to get us out to your friends, your family, and anybody that you think would like our content. All right, it is a Friday. That means it's time to talk all things NBA. We are presented by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Today's video brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse, the mattress and sofa outlet. And we'll hear more from Box Drop in just a little bit. But let me welcome my compatriot here for all things NBA from Heavy.com, the one, the only, Sean Deveney. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Arch. How are you?
Good to be talking NBA with you in the late month of May, and we'll be talking about it into June. No doubt about it, all the way to the end, baby. Okay. The Knicks are in. We'll get to that part of it. But the breaking news is some news that broke just this morning, and we're pretty much almost on top of it here, Sean. And that is that Mitchell Robinson apparently fractured his pinky finger on his right hand in some way, shape, or form. Now, the latest, the very, very latest, as we record this video, is that Robinson plans to play and that he'll play with some kind of brace on his finger/hand. So let's talk about this injury because, listen, if you're playing Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs, and we don't know yet who the Knicks opponent's going to be, you're going to need every big guy on that roster you can. And Mitchell Robinson will be a key component because of his crazy athleticism against a guy like Wembanyama. And then if you play the other side, if you play OKC, they have plenty of big people to throw at you too. So big people are going to be big in either one of these series. Talk to me about how important Mitchell Robinson is to the Knicks, and does he have to get out there and play? Because that guy better get on the court, Sean, or I'm going to be one angry Knicks fan. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. First of all, I do think he's going to play. I think if anybody's paid attention to him over the course of his career knows that that's sort of his brand is toughness and grit and all that stuff, and he's got that. If it's the broken pinky, and it's splinted and it might affect his shot, he doesn't shoot anyway, so it's okay. Like you don't need that from him.
And shoots free throws.
And I was looking. So he's taken 38 shots in this past series. 28 of them he's made. 21 of those makes were dunks. So 21 out of the 28 shots he's made were dunks. Everything else was within 3 feet of the basket. So him having that splinted is really not going to matter. You can say, well, what about the free throws? He was 2 for 14. We're okay with him missing the free throws as long as he can be big, be tough, take up space in the middle, rebound the ball. And that's the one thing that, you do worry is that is there going to be some pain? Is there going to be some reluctance or whatever? I think that'll be okay. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see any reason why he won't be out there in the end. And, of course, it's a steep drop for them to go Karl Anthony Towns, Robinson, and then, Huck Porty or somebody like that. So it's something where they really do need him out there. They have a lot of depth at other positions that could probably finagle, but at center, they really need him.
Yeah, no question about it. Listen, Knick fans are very familiar with injuries when it comes to Mitchell Robinson. He has missed a lot of time. Normally, it's been his lower body, in particular his feet, that have given him lots of issues, which are always problematic with big men. It sounds to me, Sean, from your first answer there, you're not concerned about Mitchell Robinson's toughness, because I think part of this for Knicks fans is, man, how fragile can this guy be, man? Like, tape it up. We've seen guys many, many times. I'm sure Jordan, I don't even know which guys, that they've broken the pinky, or badly sprained the pinky. And what do? They just tape it to the other fingers, right? You got the 2 fingers stuck together, and those guys played like gangbusters. Didn't even affect them at all. Now, this sounds like Robinson had surgery, and he's going to be forced to wear something more than just taping 2 fingers together, which I think would be much less invasive, dare I say, for things like rebounding, passing, some of the things that you have to do. Again, he's not a shooter, so we're not worried about the shooting part of it. As long as he can catch the ball and dunk it and get it out to people on the outlet, I think they're going to be okay. But talk a little bit about his toughness, and should Knicks fans be concerned about that?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can look at Mitchell Robinson, the number of games he's played, and said, well, that's a sign he's not tough. I would actually say, he's trying. You got to understand what he's trying to play through in terms of the ankles, having two bad ankles as a very thick. You look at the guy's shoulders. I mean, he's a big dude at 7 feet tall. So, I mean, he's putting a lot of pressure on those ankles, and that's knocked out a lot of guys. And so the fact that he has tried to play through that, find ways to play through that, to me, that's an indication of that's how we should look at that. I mean, these are the same things you think of. Bill Walton has gone through this, and Yao Ming at the end of Yao Ming's career. These are things that do end careers, and Mitchell Robinson is trying to play through it. So, I give him credit for the fact that he has stuck with it and not necessarily said, I need a year off. Maybe I'll just retire. He wants to keep playing. So I think that's how we should view this. He wants to play. Obviously, look, he's a free agent too, and he doesn't want. This is the last chance to make a good impression here before he hits the open market. So he certainly has some extra incentive to play as well. So I really do think we'll see him out there.
Yeah, you stole my thunder a little there. That the Knicks will have a big decision to make with Mitch Robinson and his toughness. And this is the first finals they've been in 27 years. You do everything to get out there and play. It sounds like he's going to do that. So we'll see how it all plays out. We still don't know the opponent. We'll get to the West in a moment. But last time we spoke, it wasn't over yet for the Knicks. And now it is, Sean, 11 in a row. Again, another dominant performance by the Knicks. I mean, just talk to me about the role that they're on. And are you, like I have, I'm becoming more and more convinced that they have a very good chance to win this whole thing, no matter who they play. It's just something going on with this team right now that is clicking. And I know the Cavs kind of quit in this series, and you can throw that in the blender as well. But that doesn't take away with how well the Knicks are playing.
Yeah, no, and I think you have to look at it as, okay, the Cavs definitely threw in the towel, and the Sixers threw in the towel. And you could say that Atlanta certainly in that final game threw in the towel. And that's true, but you have to be playing at a certain level to get your opponent to throw in the towel. You know what I mean? Like, you don't, if you're in a boxing match and it's even through 6 rounds, and the other guy's not going to take a dive on you. It only happens when the other guy's getting pummeled, and they've been pummeling. They've just been, it's been absurd. Kenny Atkinson said coming into that final game, we've got to take care of the transition points. I think they had something like 25 transition points in the first half, and it was unbelievable what they were doing. So, I mean, it's been as remarkable a run as I can ever recall. It won't go down as the most dominant run because they have the 2 losses and all that sort of stuff. But, when you look at the way this team has played over the course of this last month, it's just something different. I have never seen anything quite like this level of dominance in a postseason. It's really remarkable. And there's a bunch of different reasons for it. We can get into that, but just standing back and just looking at what the Knicks have been able to do. Wow, it's crazy. We've not in each of their closeout games. I believe the average margin of difference is now 39 points. 39 points they've won the closeout games in each of these series. It's pretty crazy.
Just quickly, before we move forward into the West and talk about that series and what the matchups might be like in the finals, the Cavaliers, obviously that was not a good performance against the Knicks. We know what they did last season, having the best record in the East and then not cashing in on that whole thing. Right. And they're definitely at a crux here. It's funny. I see odd similarities to situations the Knicks have been over the years with the Cavs, maybe a little bit different brand in terms of the complement of players. And the fact that Kenny Atkinson, I don't think he coached particularly well in that series. Now, it's up to the players to get it done, but, the not calling the timeouts during that first game when the Knicks were just rolling over them was just insanely weird and was talked about across national, television and radio just because it was so just egregious for a coach. You just don't see that very often going, leaving the arena with 2 timeouts in your pockets when in your pocket but anyway, so what do? I mean, obviously they've already said they have full confidence in Atkinson and he's staying. So there's not going to be a coaching change. Donovan Mitchell, again, I don't want to judge him on one series, but he just didn't look like a number 1 in this series at all. He's still a fantastic player, but is he truly a number 1? And then of course the anomaly that is James Harden. Like, I don't know. I mean, I've been hearing the rumors that they're going to extend him. I think they're out of their minds. I mean, I think James Harden as a top-level player is washed. Doesn't mean he can't still play basketball and be effective coming off a bench or something, but him as a starter and somebody that you're depending on as a second or third threat on your team, doesn't play any defense. I mean, I think the Cavs are in a really weird spot here. What do you think they're going to do, Sean?
Yeah, and I think you could kind of take a 30,000-foot view and see, like, all right, compare what the Knicks have done and the team that they've built to what the Cavs have done, and you can see all the problems with sort of building the way the Cavaliers have when you have, two-star players who can't play any defense. That's curtains. You can't do that. You cannot build a team that way. Not in today's NBA. You can have a guy that you have to hide up as long as they give effort, but you can't have two. And that's a big problem with the Cavaliers. And if you look at what they're going to do next, the reason they're going to bring James Harden back is he's got this $42 million player option. He's going to opt out of it, and they're going to sign him back at a lesser number, but over 2-3 years, so a longer deal. They promised him they would do that when they made the trade in February, and it was a wink, it was a handshake. They could back out of it, and we could see James Harden like he did to Daryl Morey saying, Kobe Altman is a liar. We could see all that again. Right. But that's the Cavs sort of made that promise, and so if you're going to do that. They've sort of committed to Donovan Mitchell. And again, that's a guy who they could look to trade, but I don't think they will. I think they're going to be committed to these two guys. I think they've sort of gotten themselves up to their neck in this. So the other thing you can do is trade one of your young big guys. And that's probably where this is headed, whether it's Jared Allen or Evan Mobley, if you're looking at it logically, you'd say, wait, why would you do that? Why not trade one of the old guys? But they can get more for the younger guys. They're very expensive, and they've got to get out of that second apron. This was the most expensive team in the league this year. So I mean, they've got to make some changes. Unfortunately for them, it's going to be keep the two old guys who have been a problem and get rid of one or maybe both of the young guys, which again doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's where they are.
Man, glad I'm not a Cavs fan today. We're talking with Sean Deveney, Heavy.com, Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital, at MC Show Digital. Please like the video on the way in, and if you're not already a subscriber, go right here, youtube.com/at MC Show Digital, and hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to be part of our growing family. We are marching towards 1,000 subscribers. Need every single one of you. This has been a grassroots effort over the last 10 months. And we'll be at our year anniversary in just a couple of months, and we want to get to 1,000 by our year anniversary. So thanks to everybody who's already signed up as a subscriber. Just click that subscribe button again. Costs you nothing. All right, we're talking all things NBA. We are presented today by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Today's video brought to you by our friends at Box Drop Syracuse. Let's take a moment, Sean, hear from our sponsors, then we're back. More NBA talk. We'll move on over, talk about the West when we return. Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com.
Finding the right local roofing company can be tricky. You don't want to hire the wrong roofers, or you could end up spending a fortune on repairs. The pros at Northeast Roofing Professionals can ensure your home is protected by a strong and sturdy roof. Locally owned and operated, over 30 years experience, free estimates, and competitively priced. Don't settle for an inexperienced roofing contractor. Turn to Northeast Roofing Professionals. Discounts for military and first responders. Reach out and let them put a sturdy roof over your head. NERPCNY.com. NERPCNY.com.
All right, we are back, Man-Child Show with Boy Green Digital, at MC Show Digital, talking all things NBA with our NBA insider, Sean Deveney from Heavy.com. All right, Sean, let's move on over to the West. Man, we've got ourselves a battle. Look, when we talked last week, Sean, I hate to always be the right guy. Sometimes I'm wrong, too.
You're right.
I said the Knicks are going to go fast, no more than 5 games. They swept in 4. This series is going 6 or 7. I have my wish. It's going to go 7. They will play again in 2 days. Let's talk about it. What a series it has been. The weird thing about it, Sean, is it feels like every game's a blowout. Like it's just like one team blows the other team out, and then the other team blows the other team out. There's been nothing that's come down to, hey, Victor Wembanyama is going to make a great shot at the end of the game, or here comes SGA showing why he's the MVP. We haven't seen any of that drama. It's just kill, 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 kill. What do you think Game 7 is going to play like?
Yeah, I mean, and I think what we've really seen is that these are still two very young teams that are learning, how to handle the stage, and especially with Wemby, you've seen him just have these wild swings, and from Game 4 to Game 5 to Game 6. It's been pretty, Game 5 he looked terrible, didn't speak to the media and all that stuff, and then in Game 6 he's Wemby again, and so that's been really remarkable. I really think this is. As much as it's going to be sort of a game that you size up where Wemby is in this Game 7 going on the road in that atmosphere, it's also, this is a pretty good test for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's been terrible. I mean, he's not all of his own accord. I mean, look, the Spurs defense has been fantastic on him. They've had a great game plan especially after Game 1. They've sort of made an adjustment where they're playing him more straight up, more one-on-one, and being physical with him, taking away some of his outlets, and that's been really successful. And they've been able to guard him without fouling. I think that's really been a big key. He had three free throw attempts in Game 6. He was 6 for 18 from the field. You can do that to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they're going to have a hard time winning. So, I think this really does come down to him. And does he have, a 39-point game, as we've been accustomed to, or does he have the same sort of performance he had in Game 6? I think this is really going to be on his shoulders. We saw Jalen Williams try to come back, and that was a disaster. 10 minutes, he was a minus 18. So I don't know if you really want to try to roll him out there for a Game 7. This is really, to me, this is all going to come down to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Is he, he's getting the Michael Jordan comparisons. This is a Michael Jordan type of game.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going, Sean. I mean, when I look at him, there are elements of his game that do really, truly remind me of Michael Jordan. And it's so unfair to put that on him. But, it's just, we do this. We compare and contrast, and there's a smoothness to his game. Michael, a lot of people will remember when he got into the league, he was not really a good three-point shooter at all. Neither is SGA, but he just found ways to score. Maybe the one thing I would point to is MJ was an incredible defender. Never got enough credit, I think, although he won plenty of Defensive Player of the Year awards, so I guess he got some credit. I just don't think people realize, because he was so good on the offensive end, how good he was on the defensive end as well. And he was very willing to go hard to the basket, and you couldn't just push him around. If you tried to push him around, he would find a way to get by you and really make you pay for it. So I haven't seen that same kind of tenacity from SGA. Is he lacking some things? Again, we're comparing him to one of the greatest to ever play, but is he lacking some things that he can develop as a player? Because he's still a relatively young guy.
Yeah, but you're comparing, SGA to Michael Jordan when he was, at 29, 30 years old, after he had kind of gone through. Don't forget, he was undersized. He was not big. He was. You could put the Pistons pushed him around to no end in the late 80s and early 90s. He also wasn't a very good defender when he first started. That was something that he learned and practiced. So yeah, I think you're right. But if you look at the timelines, it does sort of line up where, look, does Shai, let's say they lose, whether now or in the finals, does Shai take that and have that same fire and decide to, Michael Jordan famously hired Tim Grover and bulked up and all that stuff and did, really focus on his defense. Does Shai take that same challenge? Does he take it that way? Or does he say, you know what, I've been a 2-time MVP, got to the final, I've won a championship and I'm good. That's going to be the difference. And that's, you got to remember that Shai's still only 26, 27. And when Michael Jordan was 26, 27, he was still trying to figure it out. So I think it's a good comparison, but I also think if they should lose, I want to see, what's the reaction from Shai and what if he does it compare to what Michael Jordan did?
Yeah, because I think one of the things that, I don't know if we took it for granted or whatever in the older days, all right, was, when Bird came to the Celtics, they became a perennial winner and a perennial title chaser. When Magic arrived in LA, the same effect. When Jordan matured after a couple of years with the Bulls and he got some complimentary players around him, wow, look at this team, the Pistons. We talked about their development. So, you just felt like teams were here to stay when they got that one or two key players. In today's NBA, I'm not so sure of it. People are ready to march SGA out the door and say, bring on Victor Wembanyama. He's going to win 5 titles. And there'll probably be somebody after Wemby. Like, there just are players that come along, and these rosters just seem to change a lot more quickly than, dare I say, they did back in the 80s. And can we have dynasties anymore?
Right. I think the NBA has been dead wrong in the way that they've set up the CBA and all the things that they've done to make that. They want to be like the NFL, where you can get a different champion every year. And that's fine. Except that's, it's different when it's a 53-man roster, right? As opposed to a 12-man roster. And you're going to have much more ability to have that sort of fluctuation. You've also got, 16, 17 games. So there's much less chance for injuries and, all the things that can happen. I just think that the NBA, in trying to make it so that we can't have dynasties, that there's going to be a different champion every year, I think they've taken something out of the sport. To me, one of the most fun things was covering, Shaq and Kobe in the early 2000s, because everybody hated them. Like, you'd go on the road. Like, I remember going to Sacramento, and oh my gosh, the level of volume in that place, when they would play, it was unbelievable. And I just don't think you can really, you can't generate that if it's somebody new every year. And I'm afraid that that's where the league has decided to go. And I don't think it's for the best. I think I do like dynasties. And you could say, well, what about the small markets? Well, San Antonio was a dynasty, you know what I mean? And that was, and Golden State, look, it's a big market. I get that. But that was one of the worst organizations for decades. And then it came along, and you can get it. It can happen anywhere. Miami, again, it can happen anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a big market. I just think that by taking away dynasties, I do think the NBA loses something.
All right, let me just ask you who you think is going to win Game 7. I mean, here it is. It's going back to OKC. Who do you think is going to win this game, and why?
I do think it'll be Oklahoma City. I think that we'll get a good Shea game. I think that as good as Dylan Harper was fantastic coming back from that injury. Finally kind of had a breakthrough there in Game 6. But I just think those young guys, Harper and Castle, guys like that, I don't know that they're ready for this stage. I think San Antonio has gotten here faster than they thought they would. So I think, Oklahoma City has sort of been through this more. They had a Game 7 in the finals last year. They had a Game 7 against Denver in the playoffs last year. This is a time where I think Oklahoma City can shine, and I think they will. They got to get much better performances from their role players and their bench than what we saw in Game 6. But we've seen that at home they've been much better. So I think in the end it's Oklahoma City.
All right, and then let's talk about the NBA Finals. I mean, we've already asked you the question a couple of times about who you think the Knicks would prefer. I think it's been your opinion that, San Antonio, because of their youth and their inexperience, would be probably the better opponent for the Knicks if they want to win. But regardless, how competitive do you think this will be? If it is OKC, what are the issues that the Knicks will have to deal with there? And do you think the Knicks can take this series out and potentially even win an NBA title? We know how New York is waiting for one for over 50 years.
Yeah, I think it's really going to come down to, okay, do the Knicks have enough quickness and athleticism to be able to guard SGA one-on-one, on their own? Can you put, Josh Hart? Can you put Bridges? Can you put OG in different stretches? They've got the bodies to do it.
All three of them are all good.
Yep. Right, and that's going to be big, and that's going to be huge. But do they have the quickness? The one thing that the Spurs have is, they're young, but they're big and quick. And the Knicks, I think, have the size to do it. Do they have the quickness to keep up with him and really limit him? He didn't go crazy on them in the 2 games they played. I think one of them, I think it was about 30 points in both of the games. And one of them, he went to the free throw line a ton. And I do think we'll see some of that come down. I don't think he'll get to the line quite as much in an NBA final situation. So that'll be a real difference maker. But then I think you got to look at it on the other side too. This way that the Knicks are playing offensively, There's been nobody in the East that's been able to stop it. So it's going to be tough for the Thunder. They're gonna have a real challenge. As you're running things through Karl Anthony Towns, how do you defend that? And as you've got all 5 guys with the level of offensive talent, how do you keep up with them as engaged as they've been, really on a string defensively as they've been? I think it would be a challenge for Oklahoma City as well. Same for San Antonio.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's going to be very, very competitive. What about, you mentioned the fouls, and it's been an interesting series, even watching this San Antonio OKC series. When SGA is given the benefit of the doubt by the officials, he's able to score more points, and he's going to the line a lot. I give you game 5, where I think he had 17 points at the line. He scored over 30 points. He's not shooting well right now. He's in a bit of a shooting slump. But it's those foul calls. And a lot of this has come back to, and there's been a lot of curiosity about who's going to referee game 7 here, and whether or not this is going to be the kind of refereeing crew that's going to call more fouls, or is they going to let him play? Because we have seen in the games in this series, when they have let him play, SGA has struggled. And obviously that would play into the hands of the Knicks quite a bit. I don't think they want to see him on the line a lot. He doesn't miss anything at the free throw line either. So give me your thoughts about, I hate when refereeing becomes a talk of an NBA Finals or a playoff series, period. But here we are, Sean, and we're talking about it.
Yeah, and it is more of a pertinent issue here because, typically in a game 7, you would let them play a little bit more. It's you typically would swallow the whistle a little bit more and let the teams decide it on the floor. But that is such a part of Shea's game, and if you're not calling it, then it definitely does take him. And for me, he's got to break the slump, and he is something like, I think it's like 40% in this series, which is, for a guy who typically shoots 50%, I think he's shot 50% each of the past 2 years. That's unacceptable. You can't shoot like that at this time of year, even if it's more difficult. You've got to find a way, and so that's going to really be a real challenge for him. But yeah, the referee, and if you look at it, the Spurs have gone to the line a lot more than the Thunder have. And, the Lakers did in the previous series as well. So, I don't think there's much complaining there that Oklahoma City can do. But certainly, yeah, they need the refs to give Shea a little bit of a break, even as they're, probably tightening it up. But in the end, it's on Shea. He's got to make some of these shots that he would usually make that he's just not making right now.
All right, Sean. Well, I'm going to make my way down to New York City for part of this finals run. And try and experience it in the Big Apple around these insane fans. I don't think I'm going to any games because tickets are unbelievably ridiculous. Unbelievable. My son and I always do something for Father's Day together, and that was an outside chance that maybe we'd do that. And then I looked at the price of tickets, and I was I guess we'll just go play some golf or do something far less expensive for a singular game. I just can't justify putting down the kind of insane money that is being asked for. But the city itself is standing on its head. So I'll be down there trying to get a little experience of it. Hopefully I won't miss any time with you so that we can maybe talk a little bit about the atmosphere in New York while this team is in the NBA Finals. There's this very unique thing about the Knicks. I was talking about it earlier this week on our live show, that, the Jets, there's always the counteractive Giants, or the Giants, there's always the counteractive Jets, the Yankees, and there's always the counteractive Mets. Yeah. But in basketball, I know there's a team in Brooklyn, but it just doesn't. The Knicks own New York, and they always have. And, sure, people go see the Nets play, occasionally. They built a very nice place there in Brooklyn. But, the Nets were in New Jersey for a long time. Like, they don't have that fan base that the Knicks have. And it unites the city when the Knicks are doing things like this. So it's a very unique atmosphere. Hopefully it doesn't get too crazy. I don't know how close I want to get to the Garden because I've seen these people climbing on lampposts and doing all kinds of crazy things after a win. I don't need any of that nonsense in my life. I certainly no looting or anything insane like that, or people lighting cars on fire. We don't need anything like that. But it is fun to be around the city when the city's buzzing. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes.
Yeah. I don't think there'll be anything crazy in terms of like the negative stuff. I think that this will just be pure joy if they're able to win. I think, man, especially if they could, if they could get it in 6, something like that, they'd have to be overjoyed with something like that.
I should know this, but is the finals 2-2-1-1-1? Is it the same as the rest of the playoffs? It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not going to see that odd 2-3-2, which we saw years ago. I always hated that, man.
Yeah.
That was so annoying. All right. So it's the 2-2-1-1-1. And this will be it's strange because you wouldn't have thought this when the playoffs started, but the Knicks have had the home court in every series so far. They will not have the home court in this finals, no matter who they face. So it'll be different. They'll be starting on the road, 2 games right out of the chute on the road, and a chance to try to steal one and, get yourself into the series that way. They haven't had to do that. They've had to hold court in the early parts of series. So it's going to be very, very interesting. That's a different dynamic for a team to face as well, and they haven't faced that yet so far in the NBA playoffs. Sean Deveney, as always.